Hi, I'm Courtney McGrath. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a third year business and sociology student.
My name is Ronan, pronouns he, him. I'm a second year mature student entering into third year studying sociology and social policy.
My name's Roisin and Harry. I'm a second year sociology and social policy student. My pronouns are she, her.
My name is Mary Garrity. I'm a first year student studying social studies. My pronouns are she and her.
My name is Harry O'Brien. I'm a second year going to third year of MSIS. My preferred pronouns are he, him.
And my disability is that I'm profoundly deaf and I have cochlear implants.
And my disabilities are dyslexia and ADHD.
My disability is a mobility disability with scoliosis and ongoing spinal issues.
My disability is generalised anxiety disorder.
My disabilities are dyslexia, which is taking in information through text, dysgraphia, which is writing, and Asperger's, which is just kind of like social situations. I think I just look at everything a bit differently.
The positives I found with online learning is that I could pause lectures if the lecturers had recorded the session afterwards, so I could pause it and then go over what I might have missed.
There was the availability of lecture slides and audio before or during lectures, which I could follow along with, which I am entitled to and recommend to have in my lens report, but quite often a lot of my lecturers have difficulty or getting me these lecture slides before lectures or just don't provide them.
Online learning is actually quite encouraging for someone like me who finds physical lectures quite inaccessible sometimes. And it means that I can fit my course around my disability.
I can learn at my own pace, which is different to most people. So generally lectures don't suit me. Sometimes I could go through something brand new, like 5 minutes, and then spend like 20 minutes on something we did a couple of weeks ago. I find that annoying. So going at my own pace really helps me.
On days when I was feeling really anxious and I didn't want to interact with people, it didn't mean that I was going to miss a lecture or I couldn't actually get the lecture, because I could have watch it from the convenience of my own home, which made it a lot less stressful for me.
Lecture halls are not the best place to learn in my experience, so big help not having to actually just go to the lecture halls.
I found that there was a few negatives with online learning, especially as a deaf student. There wasn't any subtitles in Blackboard, so I was missing out a lot of information, and it definitely would have helped more if I could see the captions.
Covering new material or difficult topics became problematic. Also, trying to gain insight into new material with the aid of lecturers or teaching assistants was greatly diminished, as it was not possible to have one-to-one conversations with them, which I find very beneficial, especially if it's a new topic.
In terms of the cons of online learning, I actually can't think of any that relate to me personally, other than I don't have the best workspace in my room, but that's something that I can work on.
With anxiety, a lot of the time I want to isolate anyway. I want to stay at home. I want to not go out. And what I found was that not having college to go to every day kind of, increased that anxiety within me and made me isolate even more, So I did find that was quite negative, not having the structure of college life every day, to be able to get up and have a routine and the responsibility of being in college.
Is really just not being around my friends. I find it kind of hard to stay organised, and I could read an email and kind of gloss through it and just completely not see a line that says we have this assignment due in 2 weeks.
Didn't have the same classroom environment that I find is conducive with a positive learning experience, and I think that probably did disadvantage me in some ways due to my disability in the outcomes of my course.
I didn't have many real issues with doing exams online, and it's because I'm tech literate, I have a good computer and good Wi-Fi, so I'm lucky in that regard.
But basically we had like an hour and a half, 2 hours to complete the exam online, and my typing skills would be very slow, and with some of my learning difficulties with reading and spelling, and I found it such a difficult exam that I actually had a panic attack in the middle of the exam and I had to stop the exam.
Even though we had 48 hours to do an exam. A lot of my exams did overlap and it was stressful.
I just couldn't connect that cognitively, typing and thinking all at the same time. So, you know, it was a very, very stressful experience for me, and I basically had to stop the exam.
Like the 48 hours needed to be spaced out, so you actually had 48 hours to complete an exam.
I find that online learning compared to the traditional learning environment that we have in Trinity was greatly lacking, and I feel it will be, well, it kind of acted as a form of alienation between students, their lecturers, teaching assistants, and the course material itself.
There would have been situations where you could call out students on, like when you're in the lecture online, and like that can make students quite anxious. It made me very anxious.
The format of the exam on Blackboard I found very confusing, and I kind of highlighted it beforehand in my department, and I'd also highlighted it after what had happened, and I did feel quite alone in it. You know, I did get emails back, you know, but they were quite generic emails, like saying things like, you know, I'm sorry you had this experience, but there was no really follow-up.
That I almost like changed my name to C. McGrath so that I wouldn't be called out, because I would have been afraid of mishearing the teacher, and you know, I would have been seeing that I wasn't paying attention, but realistically I just couldn't hear.
And I actually, you know, I really struggled after that exam, and I got quite low, and I had to go to my doctor, and I had to actually go back on medication, which I hadn't been on in a number of years, because I felt so low.
I find the privacy and controlled and isolated setting of the exam in a take-home environment was beneficial to me due to my dyslexia and ADHD. I find it difficult to sit exams with other people in the classroom.
When I was in school, when I was younger, you know, I really struggled in school. So, you know, it brings up a lot of negative emotions in me when I feel like I failed in some way in college, because it's very important to me now as a mature student that I do well.
I think the most important thing that I can talk about is recommendations for the future. I think that it is so important that online learning continues after Corona is over and we've returned to physical lectures.
Lecturers could be like more aware that, like, you know, this new environment, not everyone is like has the same situation or has the same home environment, and just to be more aware that like there's other ways for students to engage in learning than having to call them out on Blackboard.
Kind of open book nature, take-home exam, whatever you want to call it. I thought that was beneficial, as I feel that it made it possible for myself and many other students to discuss questions in greater depth and gain a better understanding and critical analysis of the subject and arguments that we're answering and responding to.
Disabled students have been pushing for online learning as an option for years, and have been met with constant backlash of, you know, saying that it would be too difficult, or that there would be issues with the privacy of lecturers. And we've all seen a very quick and easy transfer over to online learning. So I think that it is of utmost importance that that continues as an option, not just for disabled students, but for whoever needs to do so.
There's going to have to be some kind of way to help us connect with the campus, college, our lecturers, our departments, you know, so we don't feel so alone, you know.
Which, in my opinion, should ultimately be what college education is about, rather than a memory test. So I did find, although I found the learning experience online quite punitive, I did feel that online exams or open book exams in general, or something along those lines, was beneficial to a kind of more rounded educational experience.
I think that it would open up education for a whole range of students, for single parents or people who need to work full time to be able to afford to rent in Dublin, or to be able to afford to pay their fees.
Having, you know, captions which are needed, and I don't know if Blackboard has a license that they could have captioning, but it definitely is like required, because I do miss out on so much without captioning.
Because anxiety, generalized anxiety disorder, it's, you know, it can lead to bouts of depression as well for me. And I found the isolation of being on my own at home just tough, you know. So I just felt like that was something that I felt going forward would be important to find a way for us all to be able to connect better with each other.
Because I don't want to do bad next year, because it's very important, and I really don't want online learning to affect that. So I definitely think there needs to be work done to support students, all students, and students with disabilities.
I think that online learning is a matter of accessible education. I think it's a matter of equality and equity, and I think it's something that Trinity should really be putting at the forefront of their future plans.